What is happening to our brains when we hear this music?
Since about the 1990s, there have been colleagues of mine taking the same clip of film and then changing the music and asking what changes in the in the viewer's perception of the movie when you change the soundtrack, but keep the film the same. And the obvious thing we might all think is, well, the emotions change because music is sort of intensifying the emotions of the film. But they've found a number of other things that have been really interesting. The music it's not just intensifying the mood. The music in film can create expectations about events that might be coming up next. It can lead to associations that aren't necessarily on the screen. It can tell if the story is resolved or not. It can change the way you interpret characters and their relationships in terms of what you're seeing up on the screen. It can influence what you remember from a scene, the particular details you remember. And finally, can really influence our sense of being inside the world of the film, as opposed to being somebody watching a film from the outside. What did surprise us when we started to look at music in the brain using these techniques of neuroimaging, which allow us to look inside living brains without having to open up heads, was how much of the brain is activated by purely instrumental music. So no words, so you're not processing semantic meanings at all. And yet, when we look at the brain listening to music, we see widespread activations. This is from the work of a colleague, Professor Stefan Kolsch in Germany. And this slide is just showing regions of the brain that are involved in processing harmony, just one aspect of music. So this is not rhythm or timbre or anything else, it's just harmony. And the salient point here is that you see widespread activations on both sides of the brains, and not just in the auditory centers, not just in the hearing centers, but in areas in the forebrain involved in abstract thinking and areas in the upper parietal cortex involved in spatial cognition, on the right side of the brain as well. So just one aspect of music can activate this much of the brain. If I started to overlay what happens when you listen to rhythms and timbres and so forth, you'd see a great deal of the brain being activated. So music is engaging many mental processes well beyond just emotion. Now you're looking down from above in different slices of the brain, kind of marching your way down through the brain. And the colored areas are areas involved in musical expectation. When music sets up an expectation for something that's going to happen next in the music. And again, you see not just the auditory centers, but widespread areas, the frontal cortex involved in abstract thinking, deep brain centers involved in emotion, left and right side of the brain. And so the picture that's emerging is that music is not just a powerful way to activate the emotion systems, it activates memory, motor control, imagery, attention, sequencing, spatial processing, and abstract thinking. It's one of the most powerful ways we have of activating most of the brain.